he's on tonight, and I hope he stayed by his computer, like I asked him to do. Okay. Okay, so I'm just checking. It came on. You came in a little slow, so
Gwen, you are sneaky shady. I'm just gonna say that. 'Cause your shade comes when nobody's even thinking about it.
well, Larry's been on the show before. It's been a little while, and he has a new book, and so we welcome Larry Ukali Johnson Red to Black Authors, or back to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hey, Larry.
Okay, you need to unmute so we can hear your voice.
Now, and
Okay,
how are
there
you
you
both
go.
doing? And so happy
Okay.
to be back on the program.
Hey,
Okay.
Larry, are you a Cancer?
I'm a Gemini, but
Oh,
I was born June
Cancer. My
18th.
name is Larry.
I was born June 18th, 1952.
Oh,
Okay,
well,
I'm
your
a
birthday's
Gemini
coming up.
too. I'm a Gemini too.
Okay, okay,
2 days after June 20th. Not the same year though, but
okay,
I was
okay.
born
Yeah,
June
and
20th.
I'm a
Yes,
Cancer. I'm June 29th.
I see.
Mhm.
And I'm an older man, but I'm a survivor.
Okay. Okay. And yeah, me and Rhonda, since our birthdays are close together, we have a birthday show coming up. I think it's the one on the 24th. That'll be because
Yeah.
we do it in between our birthdays. So we wear our
I
birthday
see.
crown, and this is a birthday show. And so your birthday's coming up, Larry, soon.
Yes. Oh,
Soon.
yes.
Now, a week from tomorrow.
A week from tomorrow. Yep.
Okay, so tell us about, now you were on before with your book about a letter to young black men, to young brothers, I think it's called.
Yes, yes, that is this
That
book here.
that's your first book, I think. Is
Well,
that your first book?
actually, this is my second book. It's called Journey to the Motherland. I wrote
Okay.
another book called The Black Expatriate in Africa, and that was about my teaching experience in Nigeria. But when I got back to the U.S., I figured it out that not even half the people knew an expatriate what an expatriate was, because
Okay.
America didn't have foreign workers at that time. So that's
Okay.
when I had to go and put the book back into another format called Journey to the Motherland from San Francisco to Benin City. And that was just my second book. And I never knew when I had written my second book that I would end up writing 10 books. I'm really shocked about that.
Okay. So I didn't realize you had 10 books.
Yes, I'm just realizing it myself because again, whoever thinks that they're going to write 10 books. But I do remember meeting Julian Richardson, who was the original owner of Marcus Books. And he told me, he said, every idea in the world is in a book. Of course, that Marcus Books is no longer in San Francisco where it used to be, but it is still in Oakland. And I think his daughter runs it. But yeah, I
Okay.
remember that book because he told me, he said, every idea in the world is in a book. And so I wrote this book, Journey to the Motherland, to more specifically tie down my experiences in Africa. And I was well received in Africa. And then
Okay.
finally, I started going up to Sacramento, and I met this brother named Terry Moore, and we started doing shows together. And then I wrote this book called "Loving Black Women," and of course, I'll never stop loving my black woman. And it goes all the way back to when I was 12, and I wrote a 26 stanza poem. Some are sweet, some are fine, but I dig them all just the same. I can't remember the whole thing, but I remember that line.
Okay.
And then finally, when I was here last, we had this book here called Letter to My Young Brother. And it's about school success and how to achieve it. And of course, I did send you the copy so that I could be a part of the festival as far as a book, that
The
could win
Children's
an
Book
award.
Awards. The
And
Children's Book
so
Awards.
I did, and I sent you a copy of the form the same night I sent it. I texted you a picture of it. So this book here has been, very strong book advocating for young black boys because it was based on the fact that two universities, Harvard and UCLA, had torn up Black destiny for young Black boys like it wasn't even anything that can be considered. But young Black boys do have a future, and I hope that they'll still read this book and practice the techniques in the book, such as downloading the words and definitions for each class you go into, so that you know the words and definitions of that class before you get there, much more once you get there. And also, then it will help you succeed in class. And also, there is a way to how to write an essay, how to write a 3-paragraph essay, how to write a 5-paragraph essay, because you're going to need a 3-paragraph essay in junior high school and a 5-paragraph essay to fully express yourself in high school. So, I was beginning to think, oh, well, I don't know about that. But then the idea came to me that I had been writing a lot of spoken word. And so the idea came to me to put all the spoken word in one book. But then when I typed it up, it was like 300 pages. You can't write a book for 300 pages because that'll tire people out. They can't get through that. So I had to break it up into a book series. And the book series is named Black Self-Love, Spoken Word, and Reparations, Part 1 and Part 2. And they're on Amazon right now as well. I'm going to be going up to Sacramento on June 22nd to have my first Black book launching at the Underground Bookstore in Sacramento.
Are you located in California?
Pardon me?
Are you located in California?
Yes, I am. In fact, I was born and raised in San Francisco in Lakeview. Actually, I grew up first in Hunters Point in the projects, and then my parents bought a house in Lakeview, so we moved to Lakeview. And when I got ready to go to USF, I moved to Fillmore, and that's where I also joined the Black Liberation Movement. But I lived in Fillmore, and Fillmore was right close to where USF was, and that helped me get through it.
Wow. Well, I've had family. I think they've moved away by now, but I've had family in San Francisco. So I've been to San Francisco quite a few times in my youth.
Yeah, and the thing is that in Lakeview and Fillmore now, both of those communities are cleansed out. In fact, most of the people in Lakeview are, Latinos and Chinese, and most of the people in the Fillmore are white. And most of the Black folk are living homeless, And what was shocking to me was when I met this sister in 2010, and she had been living in Lakeview, and now she was on the streets of San Francisco, downtown, with her daughter and granddaughters. So there's been a tragedy in San Francisco with landlords going up. Because I remember when I moved away from the Black Liberation Movement to my own apartment in Fillmore, I was paying $190 for it a month, $195. Mm-hmm. And that place now is probably $3,000 a month because the landlords went crazy and then just drove the rent up and just made sure they got all the money they could.
Yeah, it seems like there was a movie that referenced the Fillmore.
Yes. Well, the Fillmore is like the Harlem of the West, because
I'm trying to remember what movie it was. It was a Black film that referenced the Fillmore.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I will always reference the Fillmore because it was a cool place to live when I lived there. And, it was always, a Black thing, Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people still in Fillmore, but there are a lot of people who have been washed out of Fillmore. So Fillmore's still there.
If we had a conversation offline and we talk long enough, you probably know some of my family.
Oh, yes, because definitely I helped a lot of families in Lakeview because I helped build the OMI Pilgrim Community Center from the ground up. And I helped raise the money from $1.5 million from the San Francisco area foundations to help. We built the community center and ran it on the first 5 years before our people started knocking heads too much and I had to leave it, But our people always have that challenge. That's why I call it Black Self-Love, Spoken Word, and Reparations, because from the very day we got off the ship, the man was telling us, you better hate each other and you better love me and go help that field and make my money. And in all of that, we got into a thing where when I was in Lakeview, I was maybe 8 or 9 years old. and people were saying, "Your name is not Larry Black. Your name is Larry Black. Look how black you are." And that's part of that self-hatred that we had in the early '60s, before we had to fight for liberation in the late '60s. And so that black
Mhm.
love is so needed by our people now, because we still have our people calling each other, different kinds of names and insults. And also you have the tension between black folks in different neighborhoods. And so that's why it's so important to put that behind us and put unity in front of us, because if we don't unite, it's going to be hard for us to survive as a people.
Yeah, it is very sad that I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I think it wasn't until probably the 90s on up that we started to appreciate darker skinned people. I'm from New Orleans,
Okay.
and in New Orleans, there was still that color line,
Oh yeah, yeah.
where the lighter you are, the prettier you are, the better you were.
If you light,
And
you all right. If you're brown, stick around. If you black, get
Right.
back. I still remember
They
exactly,
those
used to say
days.
that in the
exactly.
60s.
Mhm.
We had the
It,
brown paper bag test in New Orleans.
Yeah,
If your skin was darker than this brown paper bag, you couldn't go to this church, or you couldn't join this club, or you
and you
or
couldn't get in the party.
right,
Yeah,
right.
and
Now,
so
is that still common in New Orleans, Rhonda? Does that
It's
still exist?
I
I
wouldn't
feel
say
like
it's
it does a little bit.
I wouldn't say it's as common as it used to be. There may be some people who still have that belief, but I don't believe it's as common as it used to be.
Yeah, DC used to be like that too.
I believe it.
The city of Washington, DC used to be
that's the
like that.
result of slavery and the way that they preferred us to be workers and making money for them, and they didn't give us any reparations, which is all kind of what this book is about. Because this book in the introduction talks about all the people who helped me in Nigeria, and calls their name and gives them a specific thanks. Because there was a brother who rode around in the taxi cab with me to show me all, so that when I did drive, I knew where to go when I was in Benin City. And it was very opening, because the black people in Nigeria, they still have a lot of self-love, but they also have a black self-love issue, and that's the issue that we have. And so like this piece here is called "See It Soon." Making martyrs is our doom. May we see, may we see it soon. Not just for a tune. Another brother falls as bullets fly zoom zoom. When we could wear our throne shooting through a brother's dome. A realization must surely come. Can we realize what has been done? Black death is the ugly tune. Black destiny, may we see it soon. Open our eye, regain our pride. Black folks unite and watch us rise. Can we see a brighter day? Can we sort it out a better way? Self genocide, fratricide, let black love help us survive. When eyes are dried, when we find our pride, when we unite, we will thrive. May we open our eyes so we can rise. Shooting each other is our doom. Open our eyes and see it soon. So this is just part of the black self-love knowledge that I try to spread in all of the poems that I've written over my life. And it has been a long life. I thank God for that. I'm 72. And, I'm happy to be alive and still able to give something to my people.
You're
Yeah.
still a baby. My mama she probably don't want me to say that, but you're still a baby.
Yeah.
now, Larry, how long were you in Nigeria?
I was in Nigeria 4 years. And
Okay.
actually, there's one of my students that moved into Sacramento, and every now and then he gives me a call. But yeah, I had a lot of my students ended up coming to both Britain and the USA. And in 2015, my students flew me to London, and they had their fourth convention of the Agosta Grammar School Old Boys Association. And there they gave me, a warm welcome and thanks for being a good government teacher.
Okay. Now, what
Nice.
what led you to follow that path? What called you to Nigeria?
Well, first of all, I married Chinwe. Chinwe was a Nigerian sister, and she was going to City College when I met her. And so, we kind of worked together and both graduated from, she graduated from San Francisco State when I graduated from USF. And then we both went to Golden Gate University. And then I got 3 jobs after that. And they held me for 1 year in corporations because they were very racist at the time. So after 1 year, they let me go. So after the third corporate job let me go, I said, okay, Chinwe, let's go to Africa. Let's go to your country. Let's go there. And she said, okay. She said, but if you ever go to Nigeria, you'll never be without a job and you won't be disrespected as a black man. And those two things came true as I went to Nigeria. And they had a counselor in the Nigerian consulate at that time in San Francisco. And they interviewed me there and interviewed her. And they sent her as an education officer and me as a teacher of government. And it was a very interesting trip. That's why I had to write that first book.
Were you nervous about moving to Nigeria? Because there is a belief here in America that um, Africans don't like African Americans, and they don't see them as full black people. So, did you have any of those beliefs when you moved there? And were you nervous about moving there, wondering how you'd be accepted?
As a veteran of the Black Liberation Movement, I was definitely confident about going to Nigeria. And my late wife gave me those assurances that everything would be all right. And see, her dad had lived in Madison, Wisconsin. So, I met her dad and mom up in Zaire because I drove from Benin City up to Zaire. But what I did find is they do have black self-love issues. Not every tribe loves each other as much as they should because they were played against each other by the colonialists. Like in
Hmm.
other words, in Nigeria in the north, they had a Muslim government and they just, gave everything to that Muslim emir. And then in the South, they had direct rule, and the British were very brutal, so brutal that they killed so many men in southern Nigeria that they actually, the women started doing the demonstrating in the 30s. And I had to teach that because it was part of the curriculum of Nigerian government. So definitely, there was some still tensions because I still remember they had the Biafra War, and my late wife was from the tribe called Igbos. And then in the north, when I was there, I saw some of the places where Igbos used to live that were shot up. So they do have black self-love issues over there, but they do have a lot of love for each other. And they have people who have varying views because Nigeria is a very huge country, 150
Yeah.
million people at least.
Yeah, and I think half of them moved to Houston. We have a very big Nigerian population here.
Yes,
Very
yes,
big. I don't
yes.
know what the number is, but I think it's more Nigerians in Houston than any. I think we either first or second as far as destinations for Nigerian people.
You see, and it's definitely something because now Nigerians are being deported by Trump. So Trump is actually sending plane loads of people from the south. He don't care. He's sending everybody to Abuja, which is in the north, and it's very wicked. But I have this one piece called because Fela was a big musician there, and the people on the street of southern Nigeria really loved him, but he had a very unique upbringing because uh, his people were taken from Nigeria and brought towards America and were stopped. And here it goes. Um, Fella lived. When the ship was full, they put out to sea, headed for the Americas and American slavery. Yet British turned the ship back, and everyone is put down or freed in Sierra Leone, Freetown. Fella's ancestors were in that group. They walked back to Nigeria and founded Abeokuta. Fella, the social activist and opponent of military government, the Africa 70 band made the record Zombie, mocking the military man and the military government. Fella, the politician, ran for the presidency in 1979. The movement of the People's Party was on a radical frequency. Then came Calacuta Republic, and fella's mom was killed during an assault of the military man, and then came the Egypt 80 band. Fella created Afrobeat. Fella was loved by the man on the street. Fella was a prominent opponent of Nigeria's military government. Fella died at 60, the status quo's enemy, with 27 wives and a radical legacy. So,
27 wives. Wow.
yeah, well, what happened was when the military invaded his house, these were women who were singing in his band or working in other parts of his administration or whatever he had going. And so he just married them all because he didn't want the military to be attacking him anymore. But
Oh,
yeah, that was definitely something. And of course, as a lover of the black woman, I have this dialogue with a black woman.
okay.
And I just wanted to give that one to you.
Okay.
Dialogue with a black woman. I want you, I need you too. Naturally black and proud, so I can shout it out loud about the love I found in you, because you are sweet and lovely too, better than Mountain Dew. With you, I'll never be through. I am for you. And my sister, I love you too. And all I can do is think about the love I have for you. Love, my beautiful black woman. Come out of my dream. Bring on your beauty and steam. Make me warm all over. Be my lucky leaf clover. Be my lifelong lover. Through the ups and downs, show me you'll always be around. Then I know for sure is your endless love I found. and it's sound. I want you and I need you too. Be black and proud so I can shout it out loud. Yes. Mhm.
Okay. So your wife was Nigerian. I understand. I guess.
Yes, she was a Nigerian from the
Okay.
Igbo tribe. But
Right.
what a lot of African Americans don't realize is that they brought a lot of Igbos to America. And so
Hmm.
in 1804, there were a shipload of Igbos. They were escaping from South Carolina because they had taken over the ship before it got here. And rather than go into slavery, they walked back to Africa. That was 1804. And so
Wow.
they never touched the mainland. They walked back to under the water. They had to probably drown, but they
Mhm.
figured that was better than slavery. So
Right. I think we
Nigerian
had
tribes
somebody on the
have
show
roots
that.
in America.
Okay. I think we had somebody on the show that had a book about that.
Okay. Yes. Yes. One
And
of those little
recently,
known
like
parts
the
of our
last few
history.
months, about that. I don't know if it was the person. There was a person who her whole book was about shipwrecks of slave ships
Yes.
and exploring exploration of shipwrecks,
I remember that. Yeah,
documenting. Remember,
yeah.
uh, it's something about the water or something. But her name was Tara, and
And
she
and
did
she
a
she mentioned that sometimes shipwrecks aren't what we picture. We picture that it's going to be like basically an entire ship underwater, and
right.
sometimes it was very hard to find because there was very few remnants of that ship left.
Yeah, and a lot of it was just artifacts. That was a few months ago when she was on
Yeah,
this year.
Interesting.
Hmm.
And the thing about it is, this book brings up the thing about reparations, because actually during the discussion that led to the government of the United States, not a word was said about slavery. The only thing they mentioned was three-fifths, that we could only be three-fifths of a man. But reparations is so important because had we gotten our reparations, America would be a whole different place now. And only about 5 to 10% of us got reparations, and that was because some of the Union soldiers slaughtered black citizens in North Carolina. So a lot of North Carolinians got their 40 acres and a mule, but 90% of us didn't get anything. And then they turned around and gave it to the Japanese. That was Bush President Bush gave reparations to the Japanese for only being held in for 10 years during World War II. But this piece is called Reparations Part 1. Reparations to all those who died from violence, to all those who suffered in silence, to those still living, to those who are dead, to those of us terrorized, and to those unafraid. Part 2. To those who sat peacefully in Africa, to those stolen in a village raid, to those raped, to those played, to those who suffered on the Middle Passage, to our ancestors who worked and who were never ever paid. Part 3. To those captured and treated like a slave, to those who died in an unmarked grave, to those who suffered down through the years, to those who suffered and those with fears, to those in jail where the system failed, to those of us Africans, America impaled, to those of us they shot dead, to those of us some lost, some found. Part 4, last part. To us black survivors, we must be paid reparations. Hear what I said? For all the years and white oppression, justice demands reparations, a white concession. So that's definitely in the second book, part 2. I'll go over that time period where the people were in Philadelphia discussing how you can have a Senate and how to have a House of Representatives, and yet blacks were enslaved, but never brought on the agenda of the whole constitutional summit. And the only reason they did bring it up after the war was because of the massacres of African Americans throughout parts of the South. So we definitely got to still keep alive our hope for reparations and keep pushing forward and pulling forward. But also, we got to put black love at the top of the shelf, and we got to show ourselves and our people more black love and less of this black on black, hatred that was used to construct America.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that.
And
Now,
so,
unfortunately, we're down to about a minute left.
yes.
Can you remind us, where can we find your books?
Okay, so my books are all at Amazon, Amazon.com and Amazon.com Kindle. But I also have my own separate website called Larry Ukali Johnson Red Books.com, as well as another website called Larry Ukali Johnson Red.net. So you'll find my books at both of those websites. And I thank you so much for having me here. And also, like I said, I never knew when I wrote one book that I ended up writing 10, but I'm already there. One of the ones that didn't get mentioned was Long Distance Love, History to Destiny through Afrocentric Poetry. And so, and then also the Obama books. For each term, I wrote a book called American Challenges in the during the Obama administration. So all of those books, all 10, are at Amazon.com, as well as at Larry Ukali Johnson Red Books.com. Thank you for having me.
Thank you
Okay,
for
well,
being
Larry,
here.
thank you for being here, and congratulations on continuing writing your book. I did have one question I wanted to ask you. Is Ukali your given name or your adopted name?
Okay, I got Ukali when I joined the Black Liberation Movement of Oba Tashaka, who was in Fillmore at that time. So Larry is my name, Ukali is my name, Johnson Red is my name. But all names are earned, and I love all my names.
Okay,
All
I
right.
was just asking. Okay, so thanks a lot for being, and thanks for giving us some education as well with your poetry and your books.
Thank you so much. And
Okay,
y'all
Thank
have a
you.
nice day.
you
You too.
too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Have a great night.
Bye-bye. Have a nice evening.
All right.